would love also to come back to the story when this kind of obsession with connecting people over chocolate transformed into an actual business.
Yes, sorry.
A lot of times we fail to channel our inner child, our interests, our passions, our obsessions to something that can actually make our life, make our professional experiences. So how did that happen with you?
The switch really from taking that very human behavior from the IT world. I was working in as an external consultant at that time in my life, where I was involved in a huge change program where they really tried to change the whole process landscape within IT. So every process was turned over, a lot of kind of organizational changes. The whole organization was in a way up in the air, and with the processes, often in IT comes also the world of new systems, right? And I was kind of, what I saw was that I did not really felt good there, because management often thinks, oh, it's just a new process, it's just a change, right? Guys, get used to it, right? Just live it, right? But that's not how it works, right? So for me, it's you need to take the people with you. You need to give them a bigger picture and not just telling, okay, instead of this step, you do now this step, right? You need to take the human being with you. Otherwise, as a management, you might wake up 2 years later and wonder why that report is still happening. Didn't we change that and stop that 2 years ago? And it was like, then they realized the change did not drop all the way down to the person who really need to live the change. Otherwise, it will not be bringing the benefit you want. So I was an external consultant, and let's say whoever checks me out later will not find the company I'm talking about, because there's no reference whatsoever in my LinkedIn profile. Because, right, I talk here quite openly, so it's no one's business, right, who that company was. But I brought already my habit of bringing chocolate to everyone. By the way, I did it only once a week, because if it's too often, then it becomes a bit of a Pavlov dog, right, exercise. So I would do it only once a week. And that's where I started to really observe kind of the reaction of people, right? And that was really, it was in a way the start of me being blown my mind by what people really perceived when they met me, right? There were reactions when people said, oh, I'm really sorry, I can't take it, right? Diabetes, whatever it was, but please don't stop offering it to me. And I'm like, what are you talking about? There was one, I mean, there was one person, right? And I once really kind of gave him a special kind of attention and a special chocolate, right? It was a handmade praline, because I really wanted to say thank you to a certain people who really helped me to blow my mind and change my whole life. And he is really, I mean, he's like full of muscles. I saw him at 6 o'clock in the morning in the gym, right? Connected to the office. And he always looked really, really angry, right? And there was only, right, once a week, right, when I turned around with my box, I got within a millisecond the most beautiful smile from him. And when I gave him that special praline, I asked him a bit more about him, right? And he told me he has, I think, 5 or 6 kids, right? He hates his job from deep down in his guts, but he needs the money, right? And he was working, I don't know, 60 hours, more than 60 hours every week, right? But he needed the money to keep his family afloat, right? And so it was even so far that, right, because it became such a habit. So if I go to an event or, right, I was still doing it just as a nice habit, right? I would go to here to pick up a parcel, right? Or in the supermarket, and I would offer it to the one who just got money from me, right? And so I went to an event and I did the usual thing, right? I would approach everyone, right? And someone who was who knew my habit from that environment where I was just an external consultant, right? And she went there and she saw everywhere empty chocolate wrapper, but different type. And she was like, every food was already gone. And she was like, oh, come on, guys, I'm hungry. At least, where's the chocolate? I need anything to eat. And the people were like, oh, no, they were not from us, right? There was this strange woman walking around offering everyone chocolate. And she was like, oh my goodness, the chocolate angel was here. So when she met me the next time, she was like, you know what, Verena, you made a brand out of what you were doing, right? People know the chocolate angel was there. And that, I think, was one of the trigger where I really started putting it in LinkedIn, but that was still not before I started my company. Starting my company, let me still expand that a bit more because, right, I mean, there are so many dots to be connected in my life. Because, I mean, that was obviously not my plan, right? I'm a very, very, you know, down-to-earth business person, right? So I was obviously looking for a job. And I don't, even though I'm now living over 9 years in Finland, right? In my 10th year, but I still don't speak Finnish. And right, I'm now already over 50. I'm a woman who barely ever stopped talking. So it's definitely not easy to find a job here. So I was, you know, applying in different companies. And the fun fact is that in the beginning of end of 2015, beginning of 2016, I was applying and got twice in an interview with a company I work now for. And for a job which is closely connected to what I do now. But at the time, it was different people, different, right? It was all about really a big change management program starting. And they were like, yeah, you're really different, right? But yeah, we might, right, consider you. And then one day I had lunch with someone, right? I was still in my external consultant job. And then I got an email. In that email, the hiring manager informed me, you know, sorry, but the position is put on hold, right? If it's reopened, we will come back to you. And in that second, I was like, fuck off corporate world. I will start my own business as Chocolate Angel.
Yes. Yes. How much cheering did you get at that time?
I mean, you know, you mean from the one who was sitting opposite to me?
Well, for instance, your family, your close ones, your friends, like, yes, Verena, that's the right thing to do.
Are you kidding me?
I am.
No, I mean, my family were like, oh my goodness. I mean, right, what I should tell perhaps here also at this point, right? I have never built a family of my own. So, I mean, I have no, I usually, right, I have a lot of kids in my life, right, but none of my own. I love kids over everything, but I don't think I would be a good mom. So, and I usually, and sorry, Paul, but I usually say I also don't have an idiot sitting on my sofa.
No offense taken. This is, okay. Honestly, if more men could view themselves this way, I think the world would run a little more smoothly. We gotta take the punches that are on target, right?
Yes. And the best thing is that when I told that first time to my mom, she was laughing out loud. So I think she really, really liked that. Even though there were times when they were hoping that, right, I would build a family. But I have to say, thanks to my older brother, I have two brothers, one is older, one is younger, because my older brother gave my parents two grandsons. So I think otherwise there would have been far more pressure on me, right, to produce an heir, right, to bring the business into the next generation, etc., etc. Yeah. So, but yeah, sorry, you need to get me back from that kind of sidetrack. But yeah, reactions from family and friends. So, I mean, they kind of, my oldest friend I told earlier about, right, they visited me here, right? Their daughter is my dearest. So when she was born, right, her father called me and said, you are now an aunt. So I'm pretty much building my extended family all the time, right? I have two adopted sons, right? Just last week, right, my first adopted son accepted my third adopted child, so my adopted daughter. And I have, right, 3 adopted grandkids through my first adopted son. And I got adopted from someone as their little sister. Mm-hmm. So, but back to that part of my family. So my oldest friend, her husband and the daughter love to visit me here in Helsinki, right? And they had seen that reaction. So I was here at a design market, right? And they saw what happened in people's eyes when I do that. So my parents saw them when I was at the wedding of my younger brother, right? They were invited. We were all in the middle of the countryside in Germany, and my parents were extremely worried. So but they didn't express that in intensity to me. So they spoke with them, and they were like, what is Verena doing? I mean, she has well-paid job. I mean, she's earning good money. So how can she do that? Well, what? I mean, I was not there, so I can just imagine the conversation they had. And my friends, my parents, we have seen the magic working. We know this will work. Mm. And I mean, I have to say, right, I don't think I'm right, as you might have already noticed, right, I've never planned anything in my life, right? I mean, I was not planning to become a forwarding agent, right? That happened through some things, right? I never planned to work for Nokia. I was even, right, I never even applied for a job in Nokia. I was a temp worker, right? I didn't understand the language they spoke there. So I was, but when I pretty much decided that, right? That was, I don't know, something clicked in me, right? So I immediately started, right? It was clear from the beginning that will be a business, right? And in a way, I knew from the beginning, the service is really, right, on an hourly basis, right? People can book me, I come and I do what I do, right? I even knew the extended services, right, I offer as well, but I think at the heart of it, it's really only about really spreading those micro moments of love. And I mean, because I was a really, really serious workaholic, right? I just couldn't stop working, right? When I started working, I was like, oh, my passion, right? I can work, and because I tend to see everything everywhere I look, right? I open every door, I see all the crap, right? I open, right, something was like, there's a failure, there's not working. By the way, that communication is not reaching the right people, right? That is part of my superpower.
This is very IT.
But Paul, the interesting thing is, I usually say, right, looking back at my 15 years in total it was 17 years in Nokia and Microsoft, I often say that, right, you see my nose, it's pretty kind of broken, right? You can see my nose was broken about 15 to 17 times.
No,
not literally, not literally. Okay. But, right, if you're a business person with an happy mindset, right, and you constantly find everywhere you look the things which are not working, right, people might want to say, Verena, shut up. Yeah. We really don't want to hear what you have to say.
Right. Yeah.
And I just wouldn't give up. Right, I would go left and right, if the first try didn't work, right, then I would kind of try it another way. I would try it another way, right? And if they would still not listen, I might embarrass them in front of the audience of 100 people, say like, excuse me, right? I don't think you're inviting the right people to this kind of session. And I think that at least when I moved to Finland and continue working for Nokia and then also Microsoft, right, that exposed me then even more, right? And I was always a bit of a kind of, right, going to everyone, right, involving, talking with everyone. And I think not necessarily everyone can deal with that person, right? I had different managers. Some can let me go comfortably. And some of them really, really struggle with this one. And they were like, what can I do with that kind of energy buzzing, always talking kind of, how can I get her under control? Yeah.
You can't, and they just have to accept that.
Yes, but Paul, I might kind of go again down, right? You have an idea what is now coming, right?
Yeah.
I have to say, I can see there a bit of pattern between the different managers who can deal with me and managers who were absolutely incapable of managing me.
Yeah.
And that might have something to do with the gender, that might have something to do with the age, and that might have something to do with their profession.
Can you dig a bit deeper into that?
Yeah, it should be stated explicitly, if at all possible, so that everyone can learn from this.
Okay. I mean, let's start with a bold statement. I think typically male, middle age, right, 35 upwards, kind of middle manager of type of engineer. I think there I've so far met only one, no, sorry, I have to correct myself, 2 persons in the role of being my manager who were able to let me go and not interfere, or kind of having worse consequences on me. And sometimes they might have not even get it. They usually don't even get what the consequences are, right? And I'm not saying that they are not a good person and they don't want to give their best. But I also remember that, for example, I don't know about other companies, but in Nokia, they struggled a bit to really kind of, what kind of career paths do you give an engineer?
Yeah.
Right? Hey, make them line manager. And I would say there are line managers who are really, or people who are not, perhaps never want to be a line manager, and they are not necessarily people oriented, but they really get their duck in a row and become amazing line manager. And then you have people who really, really can break other people by not getting what it means to be a line manager. And then I had amazing, amazing women who were my line manager and who just kind of, I mean, I remember one of them, right, if I got something, I was like interested in some, like, where's that data coming from and how is this all connected, etc. And then she just gave me a name. And she knew pretty much, right? I would just reach out to that person, have a conversation with that person and come back with perhaps 10 new ideas and connections and kind of, so it was not even that I did it for my own sake, right? But really kind of, they always knew I came back with the most amazing kind of connection where perhaps the whole organization would kind of benefit from.
Yeah. And that's...
Was that concrete enough for you?
That's a beautiful answer. And honestly, this is from the purely engineering standpoint, looking at different people and stopping assessing this good and bad, just black and white thinking. It's a terrible limiting factor. But I think that a lot of men fall into this trap as they get older, especially. They either have time for it, in which it is good, or it's something that takes up too much of their time and they don't know how to deal with it. And so they don't stop to think about it. They don't look at the why. They just put it in this bad category. And when you have a force of nature, when you have something that cannot be stopped, you should be looking at its properties. You should be assessing completely with yourself out of the equation. Maybe I'm not good with this, but you know what? I should look and see the interactions. What happens when when this person comes into an environment and does exactly what they do? Is it something that solves problems or brings in resources? Fantastic. That's what we need to be focused on. And this is why I wanted you to be more explicit about it, because honestly, it's not about me. It's not about my gender. It's about giving people the feedback that they need so that they can get right. And there are too many men who kind of get lazy. Quite honestly, I think that's part of it. It's just,
yeah. And because, right, I mean, you know, and for me, it's really, I mean, I really feel everyone who I've ever met in my life in a way, and I will still meet in my life, and there are most probably another 100,000 or so, right, ahead of me. But so for me, it's, I have seen it on both gender sides, right? But I have seen it, at least in my own kind of along the way, right? I've seen it more on the male side, right? But I've seen also really bad examples on the other side, right? For female who really kind of, right, are not good in this, or where it's just kind of struggling, because I think that part of, right, I mean, we so far have not quite exactly touched on my ADHD, but I think whoever listening and just get a few seconds of my energy, right, might have an idea that there is some kind of underlying kind of, I don't know, how do we call it, right? It's not kind of a
neurodivergence.
It's a divergence. It's kind of, if you embrace it, it can be something beautiful, right? And it can be also really burdensome if you don't know how to deal with it. Yeah. But now I just need to quickly connect my red line, which just get about kind of screwed up, to go back to the point. But so yeah, I saw it on both sides, but I think, right, the ability to kind of really step back and see the beauty and the benefit of such a person, right? Yeah. And for example, it took me, even though I had an inkling that I might be an ADHD already when I was about 16, 17 years old, but nothing ever happened with that piece of information pretty much for my whole life, right? So, but at the same time, that means I have about 35, 36 years reflection on the fact that I might have ADHD, right? And so, for example, in, right, part of my kind of career, if you call it that way, was that I worked in a moving company, and that was pretty much just, I wanted a student job because I tried to be at an online university to study, which was a completely failure, but I ended up working as a student in that moving company. And there were two hiring managers. It was a small company, right? Two male, right? Both, I would say, falling into that category, perhaps not engineer, but male, middle age. And one of them was against hiring me. And the other one, and I know that only by, so I was not in the conversation, obviously, right? But the other one told him, like, but can't you see the passion in her eyes? We have to hire her. And he convinced the other one to hire me, right? So it's really, so that is even, right, where you have pretty much two people who on a day-to-day basis manage a company together, where one was like most probably scared of me. It was like, no, I don't want to hire her. And the other one, I mean, can you see, right? Can you see what we are, what an amazing kind of person we are getting here?
Yeah.
Exactly.
I completely understand. I know someone, he is an absolutely amazing person, brilliant, also dropped out of school. He invented YouTube before YouTube. And obviously it wasn't the right time because it was too early for all of that to take place. But then he has the same struggle because he is ADHD as well. And people don't know how to deal with divergence. People don't know how to deal with people who don't look like them, talk like them, behave like them, breathe like them, and so on and so forth. And that creates a problem because you cannot activate the process of change. You cannot activate the process of growth if you keep enacting the same processes, the same pathways, the same thoughts, the same systems over and over again. It takes someone from the outside to see things with a critical eye, change things, to disrupt things, and it takes a lot of energy to do that. And in that sense, that is a considerable advantage.